Okay, so if you've ever really aimed for true English fluency, you know this feeling. You get the grammar, you've got the words, but then someone asks you something,
Yeah,
and everything just stops.
right.
That pause while your brain is scrambling, it's translating their words, figuring out your answer in your own language, then translating that back, that whole internal word for word thing, that's like the speed bump to fluency.
It really is. It's the core issue. Our sources call it the translation detour.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's the biggest thing holding people back from sounding natural. So we've dug into the most effective ways, the sort of brain hacks, to teach your mind to skip that detour. The goal of this deep dive isn't just more vocab lists, it's about building automatic habits. So you go straight from thought to speaking English.
Right. Okay. Let's get into that. We're trying to move past just textbook learning here. We're looking at actually rewiring how your brain handles the language, making it faster. We've boiled down what we found into four main areas for you. First, that core mental shift. Then active speaking practice, which is crucial. After that, total immersion, changing your environment. And finally, the mindset you need to make it all stick.
Exactly. And we have to kick off with that mental shift. It tackles the root problem, relying on translation. See, when we first learn a language, we map it onto our native one. That's natural. It helps with understanding initially. But your brain's working memory, it's pretty limited. So if you're trying to hold a thought, translate it, process it, translate the answer back, well, you overload the system. That's why you freeze up.
Ah, okay. So the best methods basically force your brain to stop seeing English as this code you have to crack and start using it like a tool, right?
Mhm.
Directly. So what can listeners do, like right now, today, to start making that shift?
Well, the sources really emphasize starting small. Build some momentum first. You can begin with just silent labeling. Look around you, your room, your office. Just name things in English in your head. Cup, desk, window, light. It sounds basic, but it builds a direct link. Object straight to English word, skips your native word. You're essentially building a new network in your brain.
I like that. A direct pipeline.
Yeah.
Okay, and once you get comfortable with single words, then you scale up
Right.
to the internal monologue. This is where it gets maybe a bit more challenging or feels a bit weird at first. Our sources really push narrating your day to yourself in English.
Absolutely. It's moving from just naming things to actual complex thought. You start practicing internal commentary, like, I'm feeling a bit tired, or,
Yeah.
okay, I need to grab groceries later. You're using English for real thinking, planning, reflecting, important stuff. And yeah, it might feel awkward or slow at the start, but you're forcing your brain to operate in English. Consistency there is absolutely key.
But what if you hit a word you don't know while you're doing this internal chat? It's so tempting to just whip out Google Translate, right? But that throws you back to translating.
Yes, and this is a really critical point. Our sources are quite clear on this. You have to try and stay in English. If you need to look up a word, use an English to English dictionary, an E2E dictionary. This is such a powerful technique because you process the definition, the meaning, the context all in English. You stay within the English system, reinforcing those pathways instead of escaping back to your comfort zone.
That makes so much sense. You're cutting off the escape hatch, basically. Okay, but thinking in English is like half the battle, isn't it? We're still just in our heads. We need to get it out.
Yeah.
Connect the brain to the mouth, which brings us to the physical part, active speaking practice.
Exactly right. Fluency is also a physical skill, like playing guitar or riding a bike. You can know all the theory, but until you actually do it, physically practice it, you won't get smooth. Your mouth, your tongue, they need muscle memory for English sounds, the rhythm, how words connect.
So how do people get that physical practice without, the stress, the performance anxiety of talking to someone?
Yeah, that's a big hurdle. One great low-stakes method is just talking to yourself out loud. Stand in front of a mirror, describe what you see, read something aloud. A recipe, an article. It might feel a bit silly, sure, but it lets you focus purely on making the sounds, on pronunciation. You don't have the extra mental load of thinking what to say while worrying about a listener.
Okay. And there was one technique I saw mentioned a lot, seemed really powerful for catching that natural flow, the shadowing technique.
Ah, yes. Shadowing. It's incredibly effective because it targets rhythm and intonation directly. You know, the sort of music of the language. Native speakers just have it, but learners need to train it. Here's how you do it, basically. Find a short audio clip, 30 seconds, maybe a minute, a podcast bit, a movie line. Listen once, just to get the gist. Then play it again and speak along with the speaker. At the same time, you're trying to copy everything, their speed, their stress, the pauses, the ups and downs.
Wow, at the same time. That sounds intense. But I guess it forces you to keep up.
It does. It forces your listening and your speaking circuits to sync up in real time. which is exactly what happens in a real conversation, right? You probably want to start with short, maybe slower clips first, then build up the speed and length. It's also brilliant for learning connected speech, how native speakers naturally blend words, like saying gonna, not going to.
Okay, that makes sense for the mechanics.
Yeah.
But eventually, you do need to practice, like actual conversation,
Mhm.
responding quickly.
That's the next step, yes. Genuine interaction. Finding speaking partners. Could be online groups, language exchange apps, maybe a tutor. This forces your brain out of just mimicking. You have to listen, understand quickly, think, and reply under pressure. And that pressure is good. It helps move the skill from conscious effort to something more automatic.
Right. Okay, so we've covered thinking in English, practicing speaking it. Now let's shift gears. What about maintaining this? Sustaining it. If you practice for half an hour, but then spend the next 23 hours only in your native language, it feels like swimming upstream. We need to talk about total immersion.
Precisely. You need consistent, everyday exposure. That's what makes English feel normal to your brain. Not just some subject you study, but part of your life. You're essentially trying to make English the background noise, the default setting for your day.
And the steps for this are actually pretty straightforward, aren't they?
Yeah.
They add up. Like the easiest one, just changing your device settings.
Absolutely. Switch your phone language, your computer, your social media apps. Set them all to English. Think about how many times a day you interact with those things. Menus, notifications, alerts. It guarantees dozens, maybe hundreds of tiny English interactions every single day. Low stakes, constant review.
And passive listening too, right? Just having English audio on, like podcasts, audiobooks, even music while you're commuting or doing chores.
Yeah, passive listening alone won't make you fluent, let's be clear. But it's invaluable. You absorb the rhythm, the intonation, the stress patterns almost without trying. It kind of prepares the acoustic landscape of your brain for English. And you mentioned the staged approach to watching TV or movies earlier. That's a great way to bridge passive and active understanding.
Right, because just jumping into a fast movie with no help can be overwhelming. So what's that three-stage process again?
Okay, so stage one, watch with subtitles in your native language. This is about understanding the plot, the context. You hear the English, but you read the meaning in your language. Mapping sound to meaning. Stage two, switch to English subtitles. Now you're reading and hearing English simultaneously. Reinforces vocabulary. And then stage three, the final step. Watch with no subtitles at all. You're gradually removing the support, forcing your listening skills to improve.
That's a smart progression, gradual difficulty. And we shouldn't forget the super simple stuff too, like sticky notes, putting English labels on things around the house, chair, table, mirror.
Yes, constant visual reminders. Zero extra study time needed. It's about controlling your environment. That environmental control is often overlooked, but it's powerful. Okay, so finally, let's talk about what fuels all this. The right mindset and habits. Because even the best techniques won't work if your approach isn't right or isn't sustainable.
Yeah, we hear this a lot, but the sources really back it up. Practice little and often. Why is doing, say, 15-30 minutes every day so much better than a single massive 3-hour session on a Saturday?
It comes down to how memory works. Memory consolidation. Our brains lock information into long-term memory much better with spaced repetition. Little bits, consistently, over time. That signals to your brain, hey, this is important, remember it. Those long, infrequent cramming sessions, that's mass practice. You forget most of it quickly. Daily practice, even short bursts, builds lasting habits.
Makes sense. And the other huge mental block, the one that really kills speed, fear of mistakes.
Oh, absolutely. You have to get comfortable with making mistakes. They aren't failures. Think of them as data, feedback. Your brain learns by messing up and fixing it. If you're always censoring yourself, waiting until a sentence is perfect in your head, you'll never speak fluently. You'll be too slow. Early on, the goal is just communication. Getting the idea across, not perfect grammar. Being willing to sound a bit awkward now is like the entry fee for sounding fluent later.
Okay. So to tie this all together, bring it back to that initial problem, the translation bottleneck. Let's talk about that final technique for speed. Learning phrases, not just words.
Yes, this is maybe the ultimate way to bypass that translation detour. Fluent speakers don't usually think word by word by word. They pull up chunks of language,
Right.
lexical bundles. No. So instead of learning look, then forward, then to, then hearing separately, you learn the whole functional phrase, I look forward to hearing from you, as one unit.
Ah, right. So when you need that idea, your brain just grabs the whole pre-made package. Doesn't have to assemble it piece by piece. Much faster.
Exactly. You learn these common expressions, these chunks, these sentence starters. And you essentially have these ready-made response kits, fluent and automatic. When you learn language this way, you're absorbing the grammar and rhythm naturally inside the phrase. You don't have to stop and consciously think about the rule each time. It massively boosts speed and how natural you sound.
So what's the big takeaway here for you, the listener? Our sources are pretty clear. Fluency isn't some magic level you reach just by learning endless grammar rules.
No, it's much more mechanical than that in a way. It's about building automatic habits. Mental habits like bypassing translation, physical habits like actually speaking daily, and mindset habits like embracing mistakes and staying consistent. It really is about training your brain to just live in English.
And that's the shortcut, really, to being well-informed and ultimately fluent. By changing how you think internally and changing your environment, you are genuinely rewiring your brain for this.
hmm And since we know the brain works faster with these chunks instead of single words, here's a final thought for you to chew on. What three ready-made phrases or common expressions, maybe something you use at work or just in daily chat, etc., can you commit